All right, develop and test changes locally. So first step, we are going to set up a code repository. This is for our source of truth. So we want to set up a GitHub repository where eventually all developers, so pretend you are working with a team of developers, will be deploying their codes to this repository. So that is what this repository is for. So we are going to create an empty GitHub repo. What is this link? It's how to create one. If I click on there, so you can create a repo. So first of all, you will need to install GitHub and Git, depending on what you use, Windows or Mac. I'm using a Mac. I have already installed both GitHub and Git. So please go ahead and install that on your own. And once you've installed it, you can launch it. I have GitHub desktop installed. I'm going to create an empty repository and name this language courses. Okay. Also, you will also need to sign up for a GitHub account so that you can commit your changes, upload source code, and things like that. So I'm going to open my GitHub. So I have both GitHub and GitHub desktop, but the new application for Mac is GitHub desktop. So I'm going to use this one and create a new repository. So create a new repository on your hard drive. Let's do that. Boom. I'm going to name it language courses. Trailhead course example. Let's name it just that. And the local path, I'm going to choose a local path on my documents folder. I'm going to make a new folder. Let's name this language courses as well. Create that and open that. So it's going to go there. And I'm going to leave everything as it is. We are going to actually add the gitignore from the Visual Studio Code. And I'm going to leave that and create repository. Boom. So now we just create a repository called language courses. And now we are going to follow on to the next step. The next step, we are going to launch Salesforce DX project. So open VS Code. Now, if you don't have VS Code, you should have if you've been following the Trailhead modules together with me, because we did install it on the previous modules where we go to the developer intermediate modules or trails. So you should already have this. If not, please refer and Google it and how you can install it. And it's also available on the Trailhead. So I'm going to open my VS Code here. Visual Studio Code. Actually, it's called Visual Studio. There. I can't just say VS Code. I'm going to open that. It's going to open a blank one. So let's go back to the trail so you're not confused. So from the menu, select View, Command, Palette, and then type SFDX project and then create one. And then use the same name as your GitHub repo and then hit Enter. Okay, so View, Command, Palette. Where is that? Here. View, Command, Palette, or you have a shortcut Shift, Command, P as well if you want to do that. And then SFDX project. That's like a search, right? Like in Salesforce. Now you can click on this guy, create project. Click on that guy. So create project, and then I'm going to choose standard on project. Enter project name, which is language courses, and hit enter. Boom. Now, where do we want it? I want it on the same folder as this guy here. All right. Should I go there? Oh, it's already there. So I'm going to hit create project. Boom. Override. Boom. So it's creating the project for us. There it is. Aha! Now we have a bunch of stuff here. So let's see what's next. Go back to the trail here and scroll up. I was just checking that. So we have a code repository. We have created a project. Now here, create a .gitignore file to ignore hidden directories, right? So hover over the title bar of for the DX project and a new file, and then we want to make a new file called gitignore. So what folders do we want to ignore? Don't commit to the repository. All right. So let's flip back to our Visual Studio Code. Do we have a gitignore here? Yep, we do. Let's see. All right. It knows. It's smart. So we have at least .sfdx already. And then what do we need to add? If I go back here, .vscode. So we want to ignore this guy as well, right? So if I go back here, I'm just going to add .vscode. We don't have it somewhere else, right? Check. No. So we have .sfdx, .vscode. And yep, let me just go back here and save. Boom. So what's next? Add project files to the repo in GitHub. So this is Windows. Make sure your file manager can show hidden files here. In GitHub, under the quick setup, click uploading an existing file. From your file manager, drag the directories and project files, but not these ones. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and to my GitHub desktop, and I'm going to publish the repository. Publish this repository to GitHub. So it's a bit different because we are using GitHub desktop. So I'm going to actually hit this guy. So to github.com, the name is language courses, the description Trailhead course example, keep this code private, sure. I'm going to publish, boom. So it's publishing it, all these changes here. All right. So first commit, I'm going to also commit to master here. You have one local commit waiting to the push origin. So there we have it. All right, from your file manager, we've done all that. We've commit to master. We've commit directly to the master branch, and it's uploaded right now. If we create new customizations for new requirements, we can push it again. So for this particular example, create the custom object. First, Ella clones to the GitHub repo and creates her own branch. So this is an example, okay? So go to the repo you want to clone, this one, and then click clone. So we are actually not going to do this. So this is an example. Another developer, which is not you and not me, they want to clone this repo, right? They want to copy our files here and then start developing from here. So what they do is they go to here and then they can clone the courses. Okay, now we are Ella. Hello, my name is Ella. No, let's not do that. Okay. Now we are going to pretend now we are a different person. We are Ella. So we are going to grab our repo. So I've made this repo public. So let's pretend we are Ella. Okay. So I'm going to find new incognito window here and paste our GitHub repository URL. Now you have clone or download. So we are now Ella. Okay, remember we are a new developer. We are going to start developing our part of the project. We're going to start by cloning this. Okay, so I'm going to copy this. Okay, copy the URL, just hit that copy. So now Next, I'm going to open my VS Code as Ella. All right, and then I'm gonna from the command I'm gonna git clone. Okay, so I'm gonna go back here. Okay, so git clone. So this is my repository URL there. Okay, clone from URL. I'm gonna click on there, and then it's gonna say where do you want to put it in. So I'm going to put it in my documents now, and then I'm going to create a new folder. I'm going to name it Ella, and just Ella. Okay, I'm going to put it inside of Ella's folder, and I'm going to hit select repository location, and it's going to look at that. Okay, I'm going to open in a new window. Boom. Now I can close the other one. Boom. So now this is Ella's. Okay, so we have all the files we need on the language courses there, and we are pretending we are Ella here. We've just copied the source. So now Ella just copied the source. Now we are Ella. Okay, on your file system, Ella, navigate to the place you want to put the GitHub. We've done that. Open repository, and then from the command palette, select git create branch, and I'm gonna name the branch Ella custom object. Git create branch. Right, so view command palette, git create branch. Boom. Ella custom object, hit enter. So we've just created a branch called Ella custom object. Now authorize and log in to the sandbox. Next, Ella authorizes logs in to her developer sandbox using VS Code. So if you're following along, use a developer edition or Trailhead playground. In step 3, select project default to use login.salesforce as the login URL. So to do that, let us authorize this first. Okay, so I'm gonna type sfdx authorize in my VS Code. View command palette, sfdx authorize. Authorize an org, right? Boom. Project default, all right? And then I'm gonna name this Trailhead. Boom. So which one? I want to use my cunning moose, which is my 15173, whatever. So we just authorize that. Alright, blah blah blah. I'm gonna close all this thing. Close. So this is cunning moose. Which one is this? I hope I remember. Okay, anyways, go back here. So now we just authorize it, right? Oh, I should have named it dev sandbox, but I named that Trailhead. Okay, so we should remember that. All right, we should remember our alias for that sandbox or my playground is Trailhead. So now create a custom object. Then Ella creates the language instructor custom object in her developer sandbox. Okay, let's create a custom object and name it language course instructor. Come on, I'm just gonna copy this. Copy that. So this is on your developer. Okay, I'm gonna make like usual. Make a new object here, object manager, create a new one. Boom. Same thing, instruction. And then do we have a special instruction for that? Plural instructors, so I'm gonna add an S at the end. The plural is instructors. What else do we want? Launch new custom tab wizard, so I'm gonna add that. Launch new custom tab wizard at the end here. So let's have it deployed, and everything else is the same, right? Yeah, make sure we don't miss anything. Okay, I'm gonna hit next or just save. Pick a tab. I'm just gonna pick a random one. I'm gonna spend my time too much on here. Next. And yes, everybody can see it. Sure, I'll include it on everybody's tab. Language. Now we are going to create the custom field, which is the language course. I'm going to hit new, a master detail relationship, right? So you don't really have to be concerned about this, because this is just an example on how you can deploy. So we're not even concerned about this particular object and custom field. You can use any object or any custom field for that matter. So language L, language course, there. Language course as well. Yes, yes, yes. And save. There we have it. We just created our new custom field in the language course instructor object. The custom field is named language course and is master detail to the language course object. Alright. Now we have that. Ella retrieved the changes from the sandbox for her local DX project because Ella tracks her changes along the way. Now we want to just pull the stuff there. Basically, we want to get these new changes, the object and the fields that we've created in our Salesforce org we want to pull all those to here, right? To here. So we want to pull that. So that's what's happening right now. If you're confused, I hope you're not confused. So we are going to use force source retrieve command to do that. So in the DX project on the local file system, create force app folder. We do have that. So we don't have to do that. Force app, you see there, right? So you don't have to do that anymore because we've actually created a default Salesforce projects. So we have scripts here, you have Apex and stuff. So I'm not going to do that because we do have one. And then in the vscode terminal, run the CLI command, retrieve the new custom object and custom field here, right? So you copy this, boom. I go here, and then where is the CLI? Terminal. New terminal. Boom. There. So we have terminal here. And where are we? I'm going to do that. So we are on Ella language courses, which is good, right? So now I'm going to do this command. sfdx force source retrieve metadata, and then what custom object? This particular custom object and this custom field. So we are defining exactly what we want to get. So I'm going to paste that command there, and we are getting the custom object language instructor, language course instructor, and the custom field language course.course instructor. Now this is going to pull the metadata into Ella's or our computer as a source code. There we have it. Now we have the code there. Now let's do the next part. So once we do that, this is what we have exactly. Now commit the changes to the source control repository. So Ella commits her changes to the repo, then creates a pull request to inform Juan, another developer, that her changes are ready to review. So in the VS Code, select this source control icon, enter a commit comment, and then click the checkbox. Click yes to add and commit the files. From VS Code command palette, select git push to. Select the origin repository. Alright, so let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to go here and then select that icon and then check and git push to. So this one here, right? So this is source control. I'm gonna check the box there. Well, there are no stage changes to commit. Yes. View command palette git commit. Yeah, that's okay. Yes. Message to commit. Ls changes for June 7, 2020. Let's just hit that and enter. Boom. Now we've just put the commit back to the repository. All right. So we have git push to and select the origin repository. So we're going to skip this, okay? If you're following along, you can skip this section because now we're going to pretend we are one and stuff like that. So let's just skip it. Okay, so the next part of this trail is we are going to pretend that we are another developer called Juan. So pretend we are now Juan. We are no longer Ella. So as Juan, my assignment as Juan is to create a trigger. So I'm not going to actually do the whole thing as we did as Ella. I'm going to talk it with you. Okay. So as Juan, the first thing I want to do is to pull Ella's code, right? So I'm going to clone the GitHub repo, right? And then I'm going to create a branch, same thing like we did with Ella, the same steps. And then I'm going to name the branch Juan Apex Trigger. And then I'm going to authorize my sandbox, or in this case, my playground on the VS Code. The same steps we did before. And then we are going to alias that as dev sandbox, or you can name it Juan Trailhead or whatever you want to name it. And then we're going to log in and authorize the sandbox or the developer org. Now, so far so good, right? Now, we want to deploy Ella's changes to Juan developer sandbox. So what you do is you right click the objects folder, then select sfdx deploy source to org, or Juan can also run this particular command line command, right? And then Juan can develop the trigger. So on the VS Code, create the directory to put the trigger. So it's the force app folder, and then right click a new folder and name it triggers. And then you can make a new file and then just basically code on it like you do on a regular code editor. And then you save your trigger and save the file. Now Juan will deploy the changes to his sandbox using this command: sfdx for source deploy source path, and then this is the folder, right? And then deploy it. Now it's going, the trigger he developed in the visual code here now will be available on the sandbox org. That's what this command do, right? So that's all there is to it. So we're going to skip the actual hands-on because it's going to take another 20 minutes to just follow that along. So you know what the idea is, because this is just to give you an idea. This is not, there is no hands-on challenge to actually test out our deployment and stuff, but we are going to do that at a later module, or I'm going to create my own example of developing a real world application. Then we can really deploy and make a sense of the stuff we are actually learning here. Alright, so now Juan can also commit the changes and then plan the next release. So that's the flow of how things works in org development model. Alright, so the source of truth is always the GitHub repository. And everybody is putting their own branches there, and then you're gonna deploy from there. All right, let's do the 2 quizzes here. Once a project is underway, what important step must a developer do before making changes? Create a new GitHub repo? No, they don't have. They just use the existing repo. Deploy any changes from the repository into their developer sandbox. Yeah, that's right. Yep, that's the answer. The other one is wrong. After a developer makes a change in a sandbox org, what step is required to share it with others? Create a new branch in the source control system and a new DX project? No. Test the changes after pushing them. Deploy the changes to every teammate sandbox? No. Retrieve the changes from their sandbox? Boom. Bada bing, bada boom. Hit that subscribe button and explore new Trailhead grounds and learn to implement the most useful and popular apps on the Salesforce App Exchange. And do yourself a favor, like this video, and you'll be surprised on how much more you understand when watching this same video after liking it. Don't take my word. Watch this one more time after you like the video and see it for yourself. Bada bing, bada boom.